everyone, welcome to the QuesterMage and welcome to today's video about Remnant from the Ashes for the Nintendo Switch. Is it any good on the Nintendo Switch? Well, let's find out. So please sit back, relax, click like, subscribe, and hopefully enjoy. Here we go. Wow, what an absolute surprise of a game. I did not know much about this game before getting it for the Switch. I saw a trailer for it ages ago, completely forgot the game existed, and then all of a sudden I thought, hey, I wonder if this game actually has a single player mode for the Nintendo Switch. So I got the game, and like I said, just wow, what a surprise how good this game actually was. Now, if you don't know the game, Remnant is often referred to as a Souls-like. And what that means is generally you play the game, it's usually difficult, and there's some sort of fireplace or save point that you have to get to, and that will respawn all the enemies on the map. To me, it's kind of weird to just label Remnant as that and that only. It seems to me like the game is actually much more. The game itself is a linear third-person shooter, which does have a checkpoint system which respawns enemies. The game does have a multiplayer, but on the Nintendo Switch I have only played in single player, and that is the experience which I want to talk about today. The game itself also uses a random generation for the levels, and by random generation what it seems to do is take pre-made elements and then just stitch them together when you start a brand new game. But an interesting twist to this is at any point in the game, you can reset the whole world and keep all the upgrades you've got up to that point, which is really interesting, as this could be the answer to someone that doesn't like the generation they currently have of the game. So if you're playing through the game, you don't like it, just reset it and play it again. Now, the gameplay of this game is the star of the show for me. It's a third-person shooter which you can use melee combat in. And the gameplay itself is so well grounded, the actual movement is very good. You do feel the sense of weight of your character, but it's not super heavy. The character does have the ability to evade, which always feels great when you do it at the right moment. The gunplay itself is very, very satisfying. I can't say enough how satisfying this gunplay is. There's a gritty feeling to every enemy you take down. There's an overall sense of accomplishment, even with the smaller enemies. Now, the enemies in this game are split into several types. A small type of enemy that generally rushes you in large numbers. A more common enemy which is a little bit bigger and tends to attack you a little bit more from the far. And then you have these characters that are, for lack of a better term, captains of the lower level enemies themselves. Which brings me to one of my favorite bits of the overall game and the overall experience. So when you're playing the game and you're attacking these enemies, you're going through the level, and then you hear a specific chime. That specific chime indicates to the player that a, again, inverted commas, captain appears, and now you have to deal with that. It completely changes the focus of your gameplay, and it elevates that sense of urgency. You really need to take out this captain enemy because it is, without a shadow of a doubt, the biggest threat you have. And then on top of that, we have boss encounters. So at the end of each level, you tend to have a boss encounter. So those are the overall enemies that we get in the game, but a massive layer that I didn't even know existed until I started seeing stuff about the game after I got it and played it, is that the bosses and the, what I'm calling captains, are also randomly chosen and placed inside the levels. So let's say you're in the first level and the first time you played this game, you had one captain that appeared against you, and then at the end of that level, you had a particular type of boss, which I don't want to spoil. The next time you re-roll the whole campaign, that can all be different. You can have the boss you got in, let's say, level 2 in level 1 now, which is an interesting thing in itself, but you can also get enemies you did not encounter in your first playthrough. And this is where the longevity of this game really, really comes in. The first time you played the game, you will potentially not see every enemy or boss. The game was made in a way for you to want to replay it so you can see and experience everything, which I think is super interesting. Now, when it comes to difficulty, I wouldn't call this game massively difficult, but it does have its moments that it is challenging. And it's not challenging in a way of, oh, just throw more enemies on screen. No, it's actually challenging in a way that it makes you feel like when you lose, it was your mistake. You need to come back, get a little bit better, have a bit more experience with the overall gameplay, and then you will progress. And when you do lose in this game, the penalty is 0. So if you lose, don't worry about it. It will just respawn you, and then you just continue. It's absolutely fine. The game was designed inherently for you to lose and keep going for more. There are no souls in this game. Again, like I said, there is no penalty for dying, so don't worry about it. Just keep going and keep having fun. The inventory system is fine. It's something we've seen in other games, and here it's nothing really that different. The world itself and world building, I think, is pretty good. But I think for you to digest this game world, I think you'll be needing to do a bit of reading. And what do I mean is, now when you start the game, there is an intro sequence, and after that intro sequence, you will find yourself in a specific room. Once you're in that room, there is a book in that room on a desk. I would suggest you go read it. And every time you find a book in this game, again, I would suggest you read that, because the world building in this game is done via you reading about it. There are cutscenes in the game, but if you read the books and watch the cutscenes, I think you will have a better appreciation for the world itself. Again, the sense of urgency, the history behind what's happening, it all makes sense if you do this. Now, if I'm coming across like I'm gushing about the game, that's not what I want to do. I really like this game and I play it quite often, but there are also things that I don't like. Now, the very first thing that I don't like is there's no gyro aiming. I have to say, when you're close to enemies, I thought this would be a bigger problem not having gyro aiming, but the auto aim or aiming assist that they have is generally okay, but obviously would be far superior with gyro controls. But when enemies are far away, it's the same problem as always. You're going to have to double tap to the right, double tap to the left, double tap up, double tap down to try and get that perfect aiming, and you're not going to get it. Or if you do get it, it's kind of lucky. It's not really you having that ultimate control. It is an absolute shame that a game like Remnant does not have gyro controls. I really hope that the developers add gyro controls, because this game does deserve it. I know the second game is out now for other platforms, but that doesn't mean that the first game shouldn't be updated if it needs specific features or fixes. Next would be the overall loot system and loot types. When I was playing the game, I did get a sense that there isn't a lot of loot in the game. There are quite a few types of weapons and types of armor, but it doesn't seem like the game is actively rewarding you constantly like in other action RPGs. You do, however, get special loot drops from bosses that will allow you to create unique items. So that is definitely a good thing, but it is a shame that the better items you can get seem to be locked out until you defeat boss enemies. So it would have been nice if this game had a deeper loot system and more loot drops. The map. I need to talk about the map. The map is tiny. I think the map is useless almost. When I was playing the game, I wanted to look at the map. I did take a look, but it was so absolutely minuscule that I thought it was really useless. We definitely need an option to make the map bigger. Sooner rather than later would be lovely. So another big one is this game needs a saving icon to inform the player that the game has been saved. When you're playing this game, you really assume at times that it has saved your progress. There was one time specifically I got to a fireplace, if you will, and I sat down and I thought, hey, the game is saved. I went away. When I came back, loaded up the game again. Oh dear, lost some save data. That's not good. Maybe a saving icon, like I mentioned, would be handy. There is one in the game, but I kind of don't see it when I save at times. So it would be nice if that saving icon would appear all the time. Next would be the brightness in the game seems off. When I'm outside, I have to put the brightness down about 10 points. And when you go indoors anywhere, I have to do the opposite. It's kind of weird. I don't know why, just the brightness levels don't seem correct. That also I would like fixed. And the last 2 points of things that I didn't like before I end the video would be two that were very noticeable. The first one would be the upscaling that this game uses. You can really see it on specific monitors. Now, when I was playing it on my gaming monitor, I really noticed it. And I thought, oh, it looks a bit grainy at times, but it's still fine. For me, that doesn't bother me. For you, it might bother you. Now, when I played it on a 4K TV, it was definitely not as noticeable. The game looked much better, and overall the game looks good. At least in my opinion, I think the game looks pretty good. But on a 4K TV, it looks much better than it does on my gaming monitor. And the last topic I want to talk about in terms of things I didn't like for this game is I did get a soft lock for the game. Now, I was playing the game in handheld, and then when I put it into the dock to play it on the TV, nothing was happening. I was pressing buttons, nothing was happening. Now, I did get around this by pressing the home button and then going back into the game, and it seems like the game ran, but it took a few seconds to actually catch up, and it was absolutely fine. Now, that's not the only time it happened, because it also happened once when I took it from docked mode into handheld mode. Same fix, but it does seem like there's a little bit of an issue with soft locking when you're using the Switch functionality of Nintendo's handheld console. Now, lastly, overall, I do want to say this game was a big surprise to me. I really enjoy ARPGs, and I really enjoyed Remnant from the Ashes. Even with some of the issues that I mentioned, I kept on finding myself wanting to play more of the game. The gameplay loop kept bringing me back. I wanted to find new areas, new items, and just overall progress. So again, a really good game for Nintendo Switch. I really enjoyed it. And if you like ARPGs, I do think this is a game you should check some reviews on, because I think you might just enjoy this game for the Nintendo Switch. But that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you very much again for watching. If you like what I do here, please click that like button down below. It helps out the channel a lot. If you want to see more, please click that subscribe button, as that is the only way this channel can grow. Now, I hope you liked this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. And until then, thanks again.